It is time. Guys, I haven't been such a sucker for the hype of a wheel in a while. But honestly, the marketing on these is insane. Tablets for the sick. Really though, honestly, I've actually been really looking forward to these wheels. I got a set of the 101A durometer. These are 52 millimeter. And as you can see, they're a very square shaped wheel. They're also one of Spitfire's skinniest wheels that they've put out in a long time, yet it still has a pretty wide riding surface. So I think it's gonna be fairly resistant to flat spots. It's gonna be fairly smooth for how skinny it is, yet it's still gonna be light and it's gonna lock in well. Those really are a square looking wheel. It's taken me a while to get used to a square looking wheel. Let's see how they feel. I'm gonna take a big chance and do a flat spot test on the first day, which is like, it's risky because it means that I might ruin an otherwise perfectly good set of wheels that I could easily get a couple months out of. Nothing. One more try. Nothing. So I just flat spotted a pair of OJs there not 15 minutes ago. And I want to get into why I think these wheels don't flat spot. I was able to get a noticeably longer power slide on these, and I think that's one of the reasons why I'm not able to flat spot them. It's their slidability. So it's because I'm not pushing as hard to get the same results. I push way more lightly on my feet, because if I push as hard as I have to on, say, easy streets or the OJs I just rode, what happens is I'm grinding in with my heels to make sure I'm actually sliding instead of sticking. Whereas with the Formula 4s, it's an easy slide. So I just push, hang on, and slide. And I'm not like pushing for dear life just to make sure I don't get pitched forward when I stick. These go. In fact, it's the opposite. You have to be a little bit more light-footed to make sure that you don't slip out. And I think that is one of the reasons why they don't flat spot as easy. You just don't have to push as hard. But aside from that, there is something about the Formula 4 urethane that just, it holds itself intact really well. I have not been able to figure it out, but I'm not a chemist. I didn't design these wheels. So I think somebody probably sold their soul to get this wheel, but anyways, it wasn't me. I just get to ride them. It's been 2 weeks since I set these up. I don't need any more time on them to tell you guys what I think of them. So the first thing I did was I skated them on some crusty ground on my crusty old ledge. They felt surprisingly smooth, even on that ground, which is pretty rough. Like whenever I have a hard wheel or I have classics, I don't like skating that ledge, but these wheels were great for it. I also took the opportunity on these smooth wheels to skate the old Richmond Park with my old ledge that I built there, the new ledge. To all you folks who said I should have put metal on this ledge, ha! Again, it was feeling great. I was locking in on crooked grinds on that thing that I rounded over quite a lot. I was also skating the flat bar pretty easily, and the ground again was smooth, so still feeling great. Next, I skated some transition, locked in well there. Skated some flat bars, locked in well there. I even got, I think, like an extra foot on my backside 50/50s. That flat bar is like the perfect height for me to not be intimidated and go a little longer on my tricks. Super fun. Next, I decided to grease up this ledge. Now, it may look pretty square, but it actually has a pretty round edge. and I greased it up. And as you can see in these clips, the only thing stopping me from doing the whole thing is the fact that I couldn't keep my balance the whole way. I never had a problem with slipping off the ledge. The squareness of these wheels really does lock in nicely. Like, it adds a tiny bit of friction, so they grind just a little bit slower than a classic, but it definitely locks in better. So I don't know, add a little more wax, go a little faster, it kind of evens out. So those are the two areas where these wheels shine the most, is they're skinny, so they're fairly light, yet they roll smoothly on rougher ground for a wheel this skinny, and they lock in really well. There was one thing that I didn't particularly like about this wheel though, and that is that the feel of them, they feel like a wider wheel. While they don't have the weight of a wider wheel, they have the traction of a wider wheel. So it skids a little more, it's not as nimble, it's not as, you know, slick, right? So you gotta wax things a little more, you gotta push a little harder on the revert side of your tricks. But that's the trade-off, right? If you love the feel of the classics, the feel of these might throw you off at first. However, I decided to put the tech tricks to the test because it's been all ledges up till this point. As you can see, it's not really a problem. The only thing, like I said, is just the feel of more friction. So on really smooth concrete, they actually feel a tiny bit slower than a classic. Because on really smooth concrete, there's more surface area touching, which increases the drag and slows you down a little. Whereas on crustier ground, that increased surface area helps you ride over the crust and the chunks. So they're a bit slower on smooth ground, way faster on rough ground than a classic. To summarize, you guys, I would say these are a very utilitarian wheel. Smooth, great lock-in, not very aesthetically appealing, in my opinion. Like, I don't like the looks of them. I like the look of a radial way more and a classic even more. Those are good looking wheels. And this is a highly functional wheel, but it's super rectangly. And as it wears down with such a small radius on the edge, it's gonna get even more rectangly. So I would call these like a tech-ish street crusher wheel. Super pinchy, super smooth. Definitely a lot of fun, but in all honesty, I will probably ride radials or classics most of the time. But I don't need to take these off. Like, I'm gonna ride these till the end because there's nothing about them that's affecting my skating negatively. I would say they're actually even helping for a lot of my tricks. As for durability, we already saw the flat spot tests, they were awesome. And as for like how much they're coning a little bit, but there's no wheels that I don't see any coning within 2 weeks or so. Like, I skate a fair bit, you know, like roughly 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. So you're gonna see some wear on any wheel in that time. And the fact that they're skinny, I mean, of course they're gonna wear a bit quicker than a conical full, but they're definitely wearing slower than a classic. So overall, I would say this is a good addition to the Spitfire lineup. I mean, it's not a lot different than a radial, but there's a bit of a difference. This is like a skinny lock-in. Anyways, thanks for watching, you guys. I hope you found this useful and got something out of this. It's time for me to go. It's like 8:45 a.m. I'm all done skating. I got out there early. Anyways, thanks for watching, you guys. Time for you to get out there and do some awesomeness and be totally rad or something.